Hello, night explorers and wave riders. My name is Bart, and you are tuned into Beneath the Waves on KWIMM 89.9 Piney Way in Morro Bay. This is where the mysteries of the deep meet the shadows of the night. Right now, we're going to dive into one of the most chilling legends of the wilderness, the Wendigo. These characters of folklore are said to roam the forests, embodying insatiable hunger and icy fear. Let me see here. I believe there's not a lot of people wanting to talk on this subject because it's possibly forbidden. Oh, there we go. There we go. We have it all lighting up on the tree now. Looks like we might have 2 or 3. Hello, caller. You are on there.
Hi, Bart. Thank you for taking my call. Oh, I was on hold there for probably about 40 minutes. I have a story about a Wendigo. I was actually going to call about something different with the ghosts, but I guess we can't talk about that right now.
Yes, caller, we've already missed our mark for the ghosts, and I'm sorry you had to sit on hold so long. But tell me, you've had ghost stories and Wendigo stories? Seems a little bit fishy. You sure you haven't had a couple drinks this evening? To have 2 of those kinds of stories is quite rare.
Well, it might be rare, but I am rare and a very unique kind of a person, and I feel like some people attract these kinds of experiences more often than others. You see,
Okay, caller. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I myself have had tremendous amounts of experience because I too am a unique person with unique abilities and an openness for the strange. So yes, let's go ahead with your story. I could hardly believe that anybody could have more than me, but possibly you do, and maybe I've met my match. Go on, caller.
So my wife and I used to own about 25 acres up in Flagstaff, Arizona, and we actually moved to the Central Coast because of all the weird experiences we had on this property. I think there was a multitude of things that were wrong with it, to be 100% honest. Besides Wendigo and ghosts, there were some things out there I can't wrap my head around. And my wife basically said, you're either getting a divorce and I'm leaving, or we're leaving together, because she hated my fascination with wanting to stay on the property and desperately record all the things we experienced, but I could never catch on any kind of analog or anything like that. She said it was driving me crazy, but que sera, sera. So anyways, it was a late night, and we were sitting around a campfire in our property and sharing stories and roasting marshmallows. The forest was eerily quiet, and the only sounds were of a cackling fire and the occasional rustle of leaves. Deer would come by, rabbits. This very plentiful area was one of the reasons why I bought the property. But suddenly we heard a faint, distant cry. It sounded almost human, but distorted, like something where someone was in terrible pain. We fell silent, straining to hear. The cry came again, this time closer, and it sent shivers down my spine. My wife said it might be a coyote, but it didn't sound like any coyote I had ever heard. The sound grew louder and more desperate, and we began to feel a deep sense of dread. Now granted, my wife never wants to believe these things. I have always believed in them. But she always tries to dismiss it like a coyote. It was a bird. It was anything but what it likely really is. Anyways, me trying to be brave, I grabbed a flashlight and shone it into the woods. For a moment, we saw nothing but trees and shadows. Then just at the edge of the light, we saw it. A tall, gaunt figure with elongated limbs and hollow eyes. Its skin was stretched so tight over its bones, and its mouth was open in like this form of a silent scream. We were frozen in fear as it stared at us, its eyes burning with hunger. Then it set out a bone-chilling wail and began to move toward us with this unnatural speed. The arms were swinging beside it they were longer than its legs, but they looked like the sockets of the shoulders were almost broken, so the arms were just swinging, as if they weren't even really attached. It was very bizarre. But we grabbed our things and decided to run back to the house. Our home was probably about a quarter of a football field away, so we're running, trying not to look back. We reach our house, and we get inside. I slam the doors, and we start hearing pounding on the windows. I hear the screaming again. My wife says I can't do this anymore. This isn't real, this isn't real, this isn't real. I cannot keep living inside of these delusions of yours. I then knew she herself was starting to go a little bit crazy about all these happenings on our property. She wasn't even believing what was happening around her. She just had to convince her it was something because of me, to justify it. Anyways, shortly after the sound stopped, they all went away. My wife told me the next morning when we got up, it was time to move, to sell the property and get rid of it, and that she could no longer live feeling so paranoid about just existing here with these things. So, even now I can still hear those cries in my nightmares. We later learned that the area had a history of Wendigo sightings after we sold it, and a lot of the locals avoided it, especially at night. So we were happy to leave. I have my marriage intact. But I'll tell you, Bart, part of me still wishes I was there to record these sightings and send them to you.
Fascinating caller. I must say, because you had to wait on hold so long, I gave you a little bit more time on your story. So thank you, caller, for giving us that tale. And I often wonder, do Wendigos ever get tired of stalking through the forest? Or do they secretly wish they could just enjoy a nice, peaceful campfire with some s'mores? Maybe he was just hungry for the marshmallows you were cooking with your wife. Perhaps. We will never know. We'll be right back.